So Great Britain is bankrupt. Let me repeat that again. Great Britain, the country of England, is bankrupt. The country who built its whole entire empire on the backs of slaves is bankrupt. The country who built its economy on the backs of Africa, colonialism, is bankrupt. The country who for years set up policies in its once colonized regions in Africa to enslave and continue to rob them of their resources, their wealth, steal from them to power the economy, to fund their lifestyle, that country today is bankrupt. The country who ensures that Black people in Africa, Black people all over the world, do not rise ever again, that country today is bankrupt. See, we're going to talk about this because this is a clear case of karma is a bitch. This is a clear situation of the chicken has now come home to roost, where there is no escape for the wicked, and justice comes for the wicked at some point in life. So we're gonna talk about this. This is not to gloat, right, at the demise or at the suffering of anyone, because trust me, the African countries today who have it bad and are impoverished because of this country. Africa as a continent is where it is today because of this one country, who today is bankrupt. So let's talk about this because we've got quite a lot to cover. All right, so here are the headlines. According to Reuters, it says Britain is broke and broken, a new government declares. This was as of July 28 of 2024, right? It says right here, Britain's government declares the country was broke and broken ahead of the assessment of the public finance on Monday, which the newly elected Labour Party will use to blame their predecessors for a £20 billion shortfall. Elected to run the world's sixth largest economy. Think about that, sixth largest economy from a population of people of a little over 57 million. They boast of being the sixth largest economy. How did they become the sixth largest economy? On the backs of African countries. England was built on the backs of Africa. Colonialism, policies that today robs Africa of the resources, built that country to where it boasts of being the sixth largest economy in the world. Now, that sixth largest economy in the world today is bankrupt. Okay, elected to run the world's sixth largest economy in a landslide victory on July 4th, Labour has spent much of the first 3 weeks in power telling the public that things are worse than expected in almost every area of public policy. This is Reuters. CNN Business. Here's the headline. Britain's local government at serious risk of widespread collapse. They are now teetering on collapse. Things are bad. Things are really bad. Now, obviously, this would be news for most of you. You know why it's news? Because this same government and this same country focuses on pointing out the problems of everybody else. Their media, BBC, doesn't talk about this. See, BBC is all good when they want to talk about Africa. They focus in, laser in on the situation Africa is having. They talk about how the government is corrupt, how the government has looted their resources, and how the country is in dire straits. They love to show the poor parts of Africa and talk about it's because of the corruption of the government. But they don't talk about how their government, their country, is responsible for the issues that are going on in Africa. Policies in place after they colonize the country, right? Gridlock the country to where the country cannot financially build its economy. Now this country is now going through bankruptcy. They're not reporting this. So this is new to a lot of you, but we're talking about it here because on this platform, we go there. We give it to you real. Here's the headline again. Britain's local government are at serious risk of widespread collapse. It says right here, local government across England, Scotland, and Wales face a 4.3 billion pounds hole in their finances in the coming year, according to a new report. That could force cuts of jobs and vital services such as rubbish collection. So if you go to London today, they don't have people picking up their garbage anymore because the government is broke. The whole place is littered with infestation, garbage all over the street. Go to London today. If you live in London, you can tell me this if I'm lying. Go to a lot of places in England. They're short-staffed because the government can't pay for anything. They're running at a 98.5%. The national debt is running at a 98.5% of their GDP. Okay, we'll get to that. In a paper Monday, Unison, the United Kingdom's largest trade union, warned that without additional emergency funding to plug the projected shortfall in the 2025-2026 financial year, there's a serious risk of the widespread collapse of local government. They're about to have what's going on. The same thing that they report on with African countries, right? The rioting, the civil unrest because there's no money. The same thing they love to point out in Africa. They're about to have that in their country. UK Parliament, House of Commons Library says, government borrowed £79.6 billion in the financial year of September 2024. Right? See, they love to say Africa goes to the IMF and borrow money. Africa is indebted to the IMF. Right? They're borrowing money too. This was a £1.2 billion more than during the same 6 months of previous year financial year, and a £6.7 billion more than the forecast of March 2024. The chart over there shows you how high the debt is. It's the highest they've had. They're in trouble. They're in trouble. It says government debt was equivalent to 98.5% of the GDP at the end of September 2024. We're in October right now. It's a little bit more than that. There are reports that are saying that by 2026, they will be at 100% of their GDP. Their national debt will be at 100%. That means what they produce, they don't have money in reserves. Nothing. They're not producing enough where they can boast of anything in terms of surplus. They don't have any money. They're in debt, right? They've maxed out their credit card. They've maxed it out. They don't have any money. They keep borrowing money. They've maxed it out. We'll get to that. Okay, it was 94.5% of GDP at the end of September 2023. Last year, it was only 94% of its GDP. Now it's at 98%. If we remove Bank of England's debt, we get an alternative measure of government's underlying debt. Government's debt was at 91.2% at the end of September 2024. Right? So the Bank of England obviously adds crazy debt to this. This is the same bank, right? Where all the money that has been looted from places all over the world, Africa, Caribbean country, South America, places all over the world where this one country, went to enslave the people, to steal their raw materials, to steal their infrastructure, to ensure that they had their hands in everything those countries were doing. These same countries, all that wealth, our money from Africa, our wealth, our children's wealth, our generation's wealth, it's in that bank. And that same bank is in debt today. So if they remove the debt from that bank alone, from all the monies they've stolen from the world, imagine that for a second. Imagine all the money is not enough to save this country, right? To be financially free for all eternity. I'll tell you why that is. If they remove the national debt is at 91.2% in the same September of 2024. It was at 86.2% of GDP last year. Here we go. Here's where the national debt stands right now. As of 2024, the official national debt of the UK, often referred to as public sector net debt, was reported to be around £2.6 billion at the end of January 2024. There are accounts that's not true. There are people putting that at trillions of pounds. Right? You mean to tell me, right? So let's talk about this. You mean to tell me that this country, who has robbed Africa, our people, for years, built their roads, built their economy, build their infrastructures, put money in their banks, build their system, live lavishly, drive Rolls Royce, Mercedes, Aston Martin, all the cars they manufacture. You mean to tell me that the backs of Africa, this country today is declaring bankruptcy and broke? Yeah. This is what you call the chicken has not come home to roost. I'm telling you, everyone that's ever had a hand in our demise, they're going to face the same thing. Everyone that's ever had a hand in subjugating black people all over the world, doesn't matter how long it takes, the Creator is going to ensure that they suffer the same fate. Now, let me tell you what I want to get to in this video. Because you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of 1884 all over again. See, this is not the first time Great Britain, is declaring bankruptcy. Now, firstly, they've not declared it officially, but this is not the first time they're bankrupt. This happened in 1884. See, prior to 1884, after this country had somehow abolished slavery, they came up with their so-called bright ideas. It was this country, it was Germany, it was Italy, it was France. The same individuals today who are also reporting financial difficulties in the country. France today has is almost teetering at bankruptcy if they're not already bankrupt. Germany is almost bankrupt. Italy is having a financial situation. These same countries today, in 2024, are going through the same thing. These are the same countries who sat in Berlin, Germany, in 1884, when they were going through all the same issues we're seeing today. They were going to go to war with each other. They came up with an idea, a bright idea, according to them. Let's not fight each other. Let's take it to the Africans. Let's take it to the Africans. Let's not fight each other. Let's go back to the same continent that we stole their people from to build our wealth that we couldn't sustain. Right? The wealth at the backs of slaves. Let's go over there and take their land. The land is rich. They have minerals. We've already robbed them of all their able-bodied men. We've left them weak. There's no one to defend those places. We already robbed them over the centuries. So let's just go and take the place, which is how they were able to go over there. So they went to Africa and stole Africa, stole the land, colonized the place for over centuries. Took our resources and our materials, killed our women, raped our women, burnt our villages, burnt our lands, took our artifacts, put it and built their own country. The country today, that in 2024 is again bankrupt. This again is 1884 all over again. Now, here's what's different about 2024 than what was happening in 1884. Let me tell you what's different. They're not unified today. They're not unified. They're not going to be able to do what they did in 1884. First of all, we're not going to let it happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This is not 1884. You're not going to go to Africa, right, and take the place like you did in 1884. It's not going to happen. The sons and daughters of Africa today ain't going to happen. They know that. So that's one. Secondly, they're not unified. They're not about to have the Berlin meeting that they had back in 1884. Talk about let's go back to Africa. They're not going to happen. Now, here's what they've been doing. Right? Here's what they've been doing, because they know that they're not just going to go over there like they did back in the days and use machine guns and all that. They know that's not going to happen. Here's what they've been doing secretly. They've been secretly recruiting Africans and skilled laborers from Africa to help build their countries. You see, this country has been secretly doing a brain drain in Nigeria, in Ghana, in many third world countries, because their own citizens, right, cannot build their economy. It's the same story. It's the same story that we've had since 1700s, 1800s, the same story. Their citizens cannot build their country, so they got to go take labor from other places, rob them to build their economy. So their country doesn't have skilled doctors. One of the biggest programs that this country does, which is illegal in the country, is they go to Africa, to places like Nigeria, and steal the doctors, the skilled doctors over there, to go and work in their hospitals because they don't have enough people in their country who qualify or who can even practice medicine in the country. Now, here's what is illegal about it. Nigeria, according to this country, who put Nigeria on what's called a red list, A red list is basically a database that you cannot go and recruit or bring migrants or immigrants from those countries on the red list because it constitutes a brain drain for those countries and kills the economy. The NES, healthcare in this country, has been violating their own law and policies and has been secretly going to Nigeria, right? Undercutting the government over there and stealing their people with the false hope of bringing them to England to practice medicine. When those people come here to England, they're working 6 to 7 days round the clock, paid way lower than the local, the British, the Brits in that country, working them as slaves. Again, they're trying to do the 1884 thing all over again, but they know they can't do it like they did, so they got to use other measures. Imagine a doctor, right? A skilled doctor working that many hours. Imagine the errors and the risk at patients that would cause when you have such kind of fatigue at a doctor. What people are not also saying is that a lot of doctors in their country have been jumping windows. They're depressed, they're fatigued, they're underpaid on the resource, they've been jumping off windows and committing suicides. See, that is a story that no one talks about. In this country, who's looking for skilled labor to build their economy that's today bankrupt. So they go to Africa, they go to Nigeria secretly, right? Illegally, because they're not supposed to be there because Nigeria is on the red list. But they've been grabbing them, right? NES is in violation of this. They're under investigation on it. They've been asking immigrants, secretly recruiting immigrants into their country because they need immigrant slaves. Forget the stuff they're showing you on TV. Forget the little rioting that we saw, where you saw a mob of people go to a hotel and attack the immigrants. These same immigrants that they're attacking are the ones that are putting food on your table. These same immigrants that they're attacking are the ones that they will go and see as doctors. The doctors in their hospitals are mostly immigrants. Even here in the United States, you will hardly go to any hospital today in the United States that you won't find two sets of types of immigrants in that hospital that come from two different countries, India and in Nigeria. You will hardly, if I'm lying, put it in the comment section. If I'm lying, if what I'm just saying is a lie, put it in the comment section. That the doctors in mostly these countries who have been robbing all these countries and they can't build their own economy with their own citizens, right? Are from two countries, Nigeria and India, are the two countries you're going to find mostly the doctors from. And these same people in England are burning and attacking immigrants in the country, whom they are going to go visit tomorrow and say, hey, doctor, my leg is broken. Someone stabbed me. I need you to help me. So they've been using immigrant slaves to build the economy. And even with that, they're not able to. So here's how they got here. Here's how they got here. And here's how the Western and European countries, here's how they get to where they are. Because the economies are built on a phantom process. It's a phantom economy. It's not real. They live above their means. This is how the West and Europe gets where they are. So all the looting in the world is not enough and will never be enough, right? Because they live above their means. They spend like it's no tomorrow. Why save money? Why save money when you have a slave who's just you're going to work to death to produce more, right? Why you sit, drink, and fatten your stomach? Why save money? Why live within your means? No, you don't need to do that. So these countries, West, Europe, all of the ones that are in problem today, have never learned over the years of how to really build the economy within. They've always built it at the backs of other people. They've always built it at the backs of Africa, of other communities, of other countries, whom they exploit their labor, they exploit their brains, they exploit their land, they exploit their resources to build their stuff. So they don't know how to sustain the economy when they don't have that type of support or that type of exploitation from other countries. The continent, as poor as they like to make it look, as ravished as pillaged as they like to make it look, that continent is still rich today, even while that continent has been robbed for centuries by this country. That continent and the countries in that continent haven't declared bankruptcy than this country, who has robbed them for years under their queen and they're under their king today. Imagine that for a second. Imagine that for a second. I'm telling you, if you're an African, if you're black, if this does not tell you that the Creator and the Almighty is on your side as a people, you have all men blind and you're not an African. The Creator is on your side. That everyone who fights and robs you, let me tell you right now, let me tell you what you need to hear. Everyone that attacks you and fights you dies before you. You are sustaining and you live longer than your enemies. That you have a country who robs and lives and pillage other people. They are dying, and you who are robbed from are living forever. So every country that has robbed Africa and African people so they can amass wealth for themselves are all going to be judged. You didn't hear what I just said. Every country, whether it's this country or whether it's UK or European country that has robbed the people of Africa and their own land and have exploited them so they can amass wealth are going to suffer judgment from the Creator. And every one of you black people who have also participated in that and also adopted that system because you think that that is a system that makes you rich, you're also going to suffer and judgment from the Almighty. Because there's a code of mandates that you've been given, which is to help your brother and your sister, not to rob from your brother, not to rob from your sister. And every one of you who has adopted the way of the European and the way of the West, so you can exploit your own fellow human being, you are going to be judged. And I'm going to step aside and let that judgment come to you. Yeah. This is the era where the Creator is waking and awakening the spirits of true man and woman of the Creator. This is the era where the African spirit is awakening inside. See, we're not for riches. See, the whole idea of get rich or die trying nonsense was something that was taught to us by this side of the world. The whole idea of get it no matter what, right? Where they make it look like if you work until you break your back, that is the only way you'll be rewarded. The whole idea, or if you're not rich, you are nobody. That whole idea that if you don't have hundreds of thousands of money in the bank, that you are lazy and you're nobody. That whole thing was gotten from this side of the world. It has caused our men and our women and our children to kill each other for it. It has caused us to disown each other, hate each other for it. For everyone who practices such thing, you are going to be judged. Because that is not our way. That is not the mandate that's been given to the black men and the black women who were the original people placed on this planet. That is why you are living under the type of situation you're living today. Because you left the mandate that was given to you by the Creator to you, and you adopted a system and a behavior of others. So it's a contradiction to your nature. It's a contradiction to who you are. It's a contradiction to your true self, which is why many of us are depressed, overweight. You see it in our face. You see the way we carry ourselves. We can't seem to get it together. We drink ourselves to death. We kill each other because you're living outside of what was given to you by your creator, and you're living in nature and a lifestyle borrowed from other people, who you're supposed to rule over, whom you ruled over one time, but now ruling over you because they enticed you with their own practice and you bought into it, you will suffer the same fate that they have today. If I were you, I would change course. If I were you, I would change position. And I'll begin adopting the way that was given to us by the Almighty and recognize your position on this earth, that you are the king and queen. You are the first original man on this planet. And let no man inferior to you make you feel inferior. This is my message for this video. It's not to gloat with what is going on in their country. Yes, we ought to point out when we see judgment happen to a people or to a nation or to a country who've exploited our people. Yes, we ought to point that out, but we're not to gloat about that. Because that should be a lesson to everyone who has looked at them and at their own system as though that was the right system to live by. So if I were you, black man and black woman, I would change course today. Because these things are a warning to you, to your own generation, to your own lifestyle, to return back to living conservatively, to return back to living like the mandate was given to you. And begin cherishing the position you've been given. Live within your means. Cut your coat according to your own size. Don't look at somebody else's wealth as something that you need to go and take. Don't adopt the ways of the heathen. And when you do that, you will live your own prosperous, peaceful, ordained, and fulfill your own ordained mission on this planet. And if you don't, your fate will be exactly the same. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Please like the video. Share the content, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you later.
Det finns ingen annan där som kan stå här by my side, oh why. Sättet du rör på det får mig att dö för dig baby. För de här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig. Och det jag lägger av min tid, jag vill ha dig. Du får mig känna safety. Jag kan nog leda baby. Och jag kommer aldrig ändra mig.